Hello and welcome to the last summer edition of No Prize Podcast. I am the Professor Bud Young. That is Lucas. And Johnny is somewhere in Mexico right now, so good luck to him. And we are talking all about She-Hulk.
Whatever
Last
you
couple
want
of
to
episodes.
Yeah.
We are going to find an hour to talk about Disney Plus. We're going to find an hour to talk about comics, and we're going to find an hour to talk about what's coming up at D23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, it was let's really talk about really what matters this week. Football.
Oh, hey, we're going to talk about football
Football.
too. Yeah.
First week of football, NFL football.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
first week of UEFA League Soccer Football Champions League. So man, there's a lot of good sports stuff. Baseball's winding down. Nobody cared about it. This is how much everybody didn't care about baseball. The owners, as of this week, were voting on how to make it more interesting for the
Oh,
second
yeah.
time in 3
Oh,
years,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what will bring people back to the ball fields is bigger bases.
like, like, excuse me,
Yeah.
um, some of the joints would be like, okay, whatever, like, hey, a time clock, and whatever, but look,
I don't mind the pitch
I don't know.
clock. The pitch clock will speed up the game. Will make it, make it faster. You have to think on the fly. I hate 5 minutes in between pitches. It drives me nuts. Um, the shift. Can you imagine like how much for the last 20 years of hitters are pissed? You think how many people missed the Hall of Fame because of the shift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean always be an asterisk now, right?
Yep.
Like everybody, like generations from now say, well, back in my day, you were able to do the shift and defense, blah blah blah. It was like, but also back in your day, everybody was doing like steroids and creatine and all that other stuff. So, and which I
Yeah.
think should be allowed. Like, look, let's stop messing around with athletes. Let's freaking stop digging into their medical histories. If they want to do
Yeah.
crazy ass stuff, let them do it because you know what's they're going to do. They're going to hire these scientists to come up with more dangerous stuff. It's going to mess with their freaking careers and their bodies and their mental health later. So just let
Yeah.
them do whatever they want to do.
Let them all in.
you know, I
Let them all in.
mean, as long as they're not advertising that stuff to kids, just go ahead, let them do what they're going to do, man. Because it was
It's
definitely more interesting when Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, and I forgot,
Sammy Sosa.
yeah, same as Sosa. It was definitely
Yeah.
more interesting. He was going back to back, 85 home runs in 1 year.
Yeah.
That was, and then after that, it was like, oh no, these guys were cheating. And then after that, everybody didn't care anymore. It was like, all right, whatever.
Hey, that's that you look at it as an era now, right? You call it the steroid era, and you don't punish the guys that were doing it. You just look at it as this is part of the game. It was part of the game then. It's still part of the game. It's just they're smarter about getting around it. The drugs are always going to be ahead of the testing for it. So, you just have to kind of set that curve and just kind of accept it. And then there you go. It's not like if you find out they're doing it, then you ban them for life. I still think it's just part of the. There's nothing that's more historical than baseball as far as like when you look at it. When people talk about it, it's always about the history. So it's just part of the history, man. Just
Yeah.
put another wing on the Hall of Fame and put all the steroid guys in there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the
Look,
era.
look. If Disney can start looking at owning BetGM or part of the casino business, then you should just let them all do whatever they want to do. So speaking of Disney,
Yeah.
D23 news. starting to come out.
Yeah,
They had some big
let's touch on
announcements.
that.
We haven't fully speculated on everything by the time this eventually come out. So, uh,
We know kind of what
Wish,
we're gonna see.
yeah, we kind of know what we're going to see. Some of the Marvel stuff. They decided that they're going to go big on live action. Which, if I'm an
Mhm.
investor, I'm shook. I was like, you should be like, wait, you're going to spend more money on live action stuff that nobody cared about. Um, and they got away with it on a couple ones like Lion King and everything. But I don't know what direction they want to go with this. Are they going to do live action for everything?
Yeah,
It,
of course they
looks
are.
like it.
Yeah,
Like, like, but should they? Like, I mean, oh, man,
if
I
there's
just
money
don't
to be
know. I
made,
don't
but
like it.
yeah, I don't know. You know, they just came out with what, the live action Pinocchio movie that just came out this week on Disney Plus.
Did
Um,
they? I didn't even see that, man.
yep, yep. So I don't know. It's not something I care about. It's not aimed at me. Um, but you know, I think maybe my kids might watch it, or my wife might watch it, or someone that was like, I
The
don't ever think that I was really big on Disney movies even back then, but um, the live action ones that seem to be, what are they coming out with, the Little Mermaid next year? That was one of the big things. So saw some footage of live action Little Mermaid.
right.
Um,
And that was interesting because instead of being looking Caucasian, she looks like she does have a little color on her. I don't know who this actress is. Um, and that's interesting enough because Submariner and Black Panther, he's not Caucasian either. So I don't know. What are they trying to say about people that are under the sea? Are they all colored, or is there some type of? And then I was using like, okay, um, you know, are these people related to each other somehow? Freaking uh, n- her dad is supposed to be Neptune, I believe, or something like that.
hmm.
Um, and how is that related to the rest of what's going on in that Atlantis? So there's a lot of interesting thing of what Disney and Marvel were trying to do across the thing should be interesting. But come on, man, in a live animated joint, like I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's another money stream for them. You know, I mean, I don't know how much it costs for them to redo properties they own already, and I mean, I'm sure it costs millions of dollars to just even put this out there. But how many millions of dollars do they stand to make, even if they're just releasing it on Disney Plus, right? If
Right.
there's some of this stuff that's just going to be Disney Plus exclusive, so it's just going to be content that you're getting for your $10 a month or whatever you're paying for Disney Plus. So
How many times can they do redo Peter Pan and Wendy though? You're doing Peter Pan
yeah,
and Wendy. Just
it seems like it's almost like a generational thing, right? So they do. I mean, I'm talking, my generation was Hook, right? When they came out with the Hook with Robin Williams as Peter Pan, that was a live
right.
action one. This, I don't know if Peter Pan and Wendy is more of a retelling um, of the story, but like I said, I think we've kind of aged out where all this stuff isn't important to us. But I mean, there are kids out there that I'm sure haven't seen the Peter Pan animated film, or the Peter Pan, or Hook or something like that. Even though I think you can find Hook on Disney Plus, I'm not sure. But
Right. Canceled was so apparently there was a Deathlock movie that was supposed to be happening and it's now canceled.
oh
Um, and I saw this coming, right? Well, I didn't see the cancellation coming. I saw them doing a Deathlock project coming because he was all over the place all of a sudden.
yeah,
Right, he was either part of like Savage Avengers or
yeah.
all new Fantastic Four somehow.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
he was in the Avengers books for quite a while. He's
yeah
still in the Avengers books.
he was all like all over the place. I was like, oh man, he's gonna make it to the MCU. I don't know how, but just looking at the art right here, it does look interesting. But now they're saying it's canceled with no further explanation of why,
That more
which
looks
is a
more
shame.
like a cross between The Walking Dead and the Terminator.
Mm, yeah.
Which, if they went
Well,
that direction, maybe that would have been pretty cool.
well, I wonder if it's because they've got some other time traveling fool that's out there. Um, you've already got Kang, right?
Yeah,
He's a big thing, and then I don't know what their um if they have Cable on his way, right? So that's what I
Yeah,
think they might have happened is that they've got too many time traveling, shape shifting, dimensional freaking guys running across. So Deathlock would be just another guy that like everybody go just another one
yeah. Well, who cares though? I mean, Marvel's, especially the MCU, everything's derivative of itself, right? So, so having a Cable and a Deathlock, kind of it does it makes whatever sense it should make to whoever. I mean, we have Captain America and we have Captain America, Sam Wilson. We have Iron Man. We have a War Machine. We have, everything's
yeah.
derivative. We have Hulk and She-Hulk now. We have, it's so to me, if they're going to do more of the same, it is just two different characters though. So I mean, Deathlock is worlds away from Cable. They just kind of maybe look similar,
Mm-hmm.
but Deathlock is more of that futuristic cyborg transported back in time to
Right.
today's Earth. So.
Well, what I do think might happen is sometimes when they're too close, right? So, for instance, a big thing that they're talking about that will happen in the future is more integration of AI or technology into our own bodies, right?
Hmm.
And then, of course, they run across scientists, they run across the government, and if those guys say, "Yeah, don't do that, don't scare people like that," then sometimes they pull that stuff. So I'm wondering if that might happen. Is they put something out there, they gave somebody like a treatment, and they said, "Yeah, don't do that because you'll scare the crap out of everybody," and they just said, "Yep, young yank," right? Um, so that's the only thing I can think of that happened right now because I do like what they tried to do with Deathlock. I do like the concept of Deathlock. The most
Yeah.
recent one that was revealed. Oh, I'm trying to remember. Oh, that's not even out yet. That is not out. But it is coming, and I'll put that in the chat for you to we can see. Um, what else we got for D23?
Well, rumor has it for
Ah,
D23 is we're going to see. Oh yeah, yeah. You can send that tweet there. Yeah.
so there's
That's kind of a
multiple people.
murderer's row of some announcements there, huh? Casting wise.
Yeah, there's see that's the thing, right? There's always what's the problem with this is that there are so many people out there saying I have a reliable source, and then you find out there's a Reddit before, then there's some Twitter, then there's a TikTok about some other guy who's saying who should play this, that, and the other thing. And then
Yeah.
2 years ago, then somebody brought it up to me is that on Comic Crusaders, on our Drug Chat box, is that we have a segment called Melcast. And what he does is he says, who should play this character? And some of these people came up.
Really?
Yeah, some of these people came up, like John Boyega, he should have been Nova. Um,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, that's a actually an inspired casting. I like that.
I forget who he said Henry Cavill was going to be. Denzel Washington. He said he at one point said it was him and Ninth. He said, hey, if we're going to have Blade, we need to have Dracula be black too. So they said, well, no, we need to have Denzel Washington come in here smooth as hell and be Dracula. So
Really?
that's what the rumor is. There's the other rumor that says Denzel Washington is going to be Blue Marvel, but
That yeah, maybe that sounds a little more. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like, I don't know. Like people are like, well, we want Blue Marvel, Blue Marvel. Like I don't know. I don't see Denzel Washington as a Blue Marvel type. But we'll see. We'll see. It's supposed to be announced today, so we'll see if that's coming
Well,
up.
I'm ready to do some predictions on who plays who. I think
Okay.
Henry Cavill. We've heard that High Evolutionary is coming, right? So I don't think Henry Cavill is going to play a hero because he's been there, done that Superman. So I think Henry Cavill gets cast as the villain, and he'll be. I think rumor was High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, maybe even if it's just a
Yeah,
cameo.
right. So I mean, they had High Evolutionary in the original, the first Captain Marvel, but it was played by another actress. I forget what her name was. So yeah, it would be nothing to have him play another one as the embodiment of the High Evolutionary. No problem.
Yeah, well, and he kind
Um,
of he has the look too. That especially that beefcake shop there. Um, John Krasinski, of course, he's Mr. Fantastic, right? I mean, we've already seen him as Mr. Fantastic. There's just no surprise there. What about Giancarlo Esposito? Because the rumor the last couple of weeks has been a Professor X is Giancarlo Esposito. Do you think that that's the route they're going to go?
Which one is that one? The black guy to the right,
Yeah,
all the
lower
way to the
right.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess they kind of got to, right, because he's playing a bad guy in Star Wars. Are they going to really risk it going with him as a villain? So they kind of got to make him as a bad guy. I mean, excuse me, a good
Well,
guy going
Professor X
forward,
has always been kind of, especially in the comics lately, kind of morally ambiguous. You know, not really a good guy. Kind of like driven by his own desires, like kind of more like partners with Magneto more than anything. You know,
right?
so I kind of think that could actually be a pretty good casting. Um, we've seen him as Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. We've seen
Right.
him on Better
So,
Call Saul and
so that's
and
why, yeah. So that's
Star
why I would
Wars.
actually like to see him as Kang. No, excuse me, Doctor Doom. Um, I think he would make an excellent Doctor Doom.
But hidden behind a mask, though,
The
or just
voice, the
maybe,
voice. So just like the voice of what's his name made Darth Vader.
yeah, James Earl
His
Jones, yeah.
Yeah, his voice could be the embodiment of Doctor Doom going forward. Like you once you hear that voice and see him stare you down,
Oh,
you will
maybe they
never be
maybe
able to see.
maybe Henry Cavill does the voice for Doctor Doom. That,
we
that would be interesting.
don't
But
nah, we don't need a sexualized Doctor Doom running around out there. You got
so
back.
the females though, so I'm sure one of these females, Jodie Comer or Daisy Edgar Jones, one of them's Invisible Woman, right?
Yeah,
That I mean, that's what maybe Jodie Comer up at the top. She like kind of looks the part. Now I don't know what other female they're casting though. So what female role could the other one be?
maybe
I
let's start getting some X-Men stuff going. Let's get an Emma Frost type
Oh,
character
okay,
going.
okay.
And I think that's what some of these people are supposed to be. I think if we don't go full on mutant, right? Like you talked about, hey, let's do an Xavier, right?
Yeah.
Let's go start bringing in the White Queen. Let's start bringing in the Red Queen, who I forget what, lady on the bottom. What's her name?
I think that's Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yeah,
I I don't know though.
yeah, she could be, she could pull out the Red Queen, right? No, let's
The
get
Black
the.
Queen, you mean?
Oh yeah, is it Black
Celine,
Queen?
the Black Queen.
Is it the Black Queen? No, the Red Queen. No,
Who's the?
yeah, the Red Queen.
I thought the Red Queen was Kitty Pride.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do Kitty Pride.
Oh, okay,
Let's put
maybe
her in
she's
there as
Kitty
Kitty
Pride.
Pride. But yeah, let's get that whole society going. Let's get the White Queens and the Black Queens and the Red Queens. Let's get them going, and then they can fill it out the rest of the way from there.
So here's a question about X Men because I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but we get so eventually we get the X Men, right? I mean, nothing's announced. Is anything going to be announced today for X Men? But before you answer that,
Hmm.
when we do get X Men, do we get the Krakoa X Men,
See, that is a very good question, right? Because first we're getting X-Men 92,
the
the
cartoon,
the
right?
cartoon, right?
Yeah,
So, how far and deep they won't go into it will be dependent on how successful that cartoon is, right? Um, I do know that I think that the comic book hasn't been as successful as they thought it would be.
right.
So they may have had plans to do it if it was successful, but now that it's not so successful, I'm thinking they're probably like, let's let's hold on right now and slow it down a little bit right now. Even
Hmm.
though that's what people want. We're like, okay, so that's the tough thing. Like the comic books are not doing too well, but people were absolutely gave a lot of positive feedback when they saw Charles Xavier um, in the movie and in the Strange movie, right?
Yeah,
They were also positive when they saw All Boy in the Fantastic Four movie, right? And I think that is definitely happening, right? Because the rumor is that the director for WandaVision is going to be the director for the Fantastic
Fantastic
Four
Four.
movie.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
That's not a rumor. That was actually he was hired to do it.
Right,
Right.
right.
So
So, right, so the only announcement that they need to do today is now it's like what is going to be the project? What is going to be the way forward? Like what story of the Fantastic Four are they going to tell? Are they going to tell? Are they going to give us the origin again? Snooze,
no, no, no.
snore.
So I heard this next Fantastic Four movie is not an origin film. So they're going to be already established. But the other rumor that I did hear, we were going to get a cast announcement today. So we see who gets cast in the Fantastic Four movie, or and who else. Maybe we see all these people in this list get announced as the next Phase 5 type talent. So I'm kind of excited about that, but then they need to stick the landing on far as these movies go, because there has been, um, do I always say it's like a drop in quality or a drop in maybe the hype? And I'm sure we can get into She-Hulk, the first, the third and fourth episode of She-Hulk, if we want to talk about maybe the little bit of a problem I had with that, even though I do think the tone of the show is nailing Dan Slott's run, John Byrne's run on She-Hulk. I think I think the tone is there. It was people don't remember that the She-Hulk book was like a sitcom and kind of reflecting of the show. So if anybody that's kind of belly aching about how and how sitcom-y it is, it's supposed to be that way. Um, and the only real problem, I've had a couple of problems with the last couple of episodes. I think the Wrecking Crew, who basically looked like the Village People, um, were terrible. I thought they really did them dirty. you know, like I really was. We've talked about the Wrecking Crew quite a bit because they use them a lot in the comics, but having them make their debut on screen in She-Hulk and have them be so far off brand, I think was a bit jarring for me. I was kind of like, no, this can't be the Wrecking Crew. Oh my god! And then Thunderball, the black member of the Wrecking Crew, was a white guy with a ski mask on. So I was like, if they were talking about like they're so big on diversity and everything, why are you recasting, or why are you casting against the lines there? So
I mean, so what we got to remember is the way it was written out is and came across the screen to me is that they stole those weapons. So that doesn't mean that they own it and that's going to be his. I mean, maybe
oh,
those weapons go back to the.
maybe they stole them from the real Wrecking Crew. That would be great if they
Yeah.
actually had the real Wrecking Crew show up. But that to me, I don't know. They haven't really done anything about that yet. The only thing, the other thing that is really jarring to me on the show is the CGI for She-Hulk is like way off in scenes where it almost looks at some points that she's kind of floating around the screen, or they're like she's kind of like almost looks like a puppet sometimes where they're
Mm,
kind of moving her. She looks very CGI, and it's the close-ups when she's talking on screen, those
yeah,
look
yeah, yeah.
fine. Those look fine. But when
Really?
she's I think so. But when she's when they have her walking into a room or out of a room, or when she's moving those big ham hands of hers, they just look fake. They
Right.
take me out of the scenes. Do I think the writing on it is great. I think the comedy is good. I think they're changing some of the characters a bit, but the last time we saw Eli Roth as Abomination was like 15 years ago, right? So
Mm.
they have the character change from then. So that's fine for me. I didn't have a problem with it. I love the cameos, and I love the fourth wall breaking. This is all stuff that the She-Hulk book was doing. So it feels like the She-Hulk book, and
Well,
that's
you know what?
what I'm
So
looking
that's
for.
so you like that, but you know what was weird is you were talking about how it looked when she was walking through a room. When
Yeah,
she was breaking the fourth wall, that's when it looked the most choppy to me. and that's what was because she would they would some joke would happen, and then she would turn to the camera, and then she would try to smile, and it was like, ugh, what the hell is going on there?
Well,
And I don't even have a 4K TV that I was watching it on. I was like, oh shit, what the
so when she was in the last couple of episodes, when she was breaking the fourth wall, it was as Jennifer. It wasn't as She-Hulk. So it wasn't as jarring as it was in the first couple of episodes where she kind of did it. Um, like and then there was a couple of scenes. I think episode 3 where she broke the fourth wall and she just kind of poked her head into the shot, and I thought that was cool, because she wasn't supposed to be in the shot and she just kind of came in. So I thought that was cool. And then there was another part in episode 3 where she was driving and she just turned to and started talking to the camera for a prolonged period of time, where I was like, keep your eyes on the road. Which at that point, actually, I thought that was funny. So, um, I'm enjoying the show for what it is. I'm sure there's a ton of hate out there for it, um, but
right.
it's really coming across as the John Byrne / Dan Slott runs on She-Hulk, and not so much anywhere else you've ever seen her. Like, she's not Fantastic Four She-Hulk. She's not Avengers She-Hulk. She's
Right.
um,
So what I do find is that the first episode it got bogged down because she's an attorney, right? And
mhm,
they got bogged down with trying to prove to everybody that she's an attorney and that she's competent and all that other stuff. I don't care about this stuff. Unless you have a really good SVU freaking case for her to bite into. I don't care about that stuff. It was so freaking stupid. Now, her being an attorney is a vehicle for her to go other places,
yeah,
right? And hey, I'm an attorney. I'm supposed to go and go talk to Wong and freaking help him out and all that other stuff. That's freaking awesome. That's great. Um,
mhm.
but speaking of that, uh, Wong, man, he is overpowering the show right now. Right, him and who would have thought the most important character that everybody's singing about has been singing about within the last 3 days is an offset character. Her name is Madison with two N's.
Oh,
Not where you
jeez.
think it's supposed to be.
It's exactly
Everybody,
where I thought it would be. But anyway.
every everybody's loving this character. They're like, oh man, she's my big spirit animal and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, yeah, but the question is she like, is she just who the presenter is, or is she something else? Like, do we think she's a superhero or not necessarily, but is she a person with superpowers and she's just killing her sorrows and drinking, partying everywhere? I mean, she's been like everywhere, right? Because at one point she does talk about how she had to go portal to portal, dimension to dimension, in order to get to where Wong was and sell her soul or somebody's soul
Right.
to the devil,
Yeah.
with somebody's heart in her hands, and you know, like
I saw that and I was like, what the heck?
so yeah, I don't think she's just a regular person. So it should be interesting, right? Because the way, especially the way they spelled her name, mad as sin. Um, I don't know if there's any connection to maybe Mephisto at all, but it should be
Well,
interesting.
what if it's not Madison, it's Madeline.
Briar,
Yep.
mm,
The
I
Goblin
would love
Queen.
that. Would love that. Would love
Yeah.
that. Love that. I do love that the fact that they gave somebody to Wong that adds a that is kind of like a Wong is a street man, and then she's the person that's all over the place,
Yeah.
right? And that gives a little bit more character. Like, hey, my responsibilities are to be the street man and got responsibilities and everything, but when I come home, I'm not reading books all the time because I want to watch Real Housewives of whatever, and I love that. We gotta see more of her, and hopefully for Marvel that's not a one off of her.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
but
So it was
yeah,
it was a good. What about the whole dating angle for the last episode?
the
Did you?
problem is it got spoiled by the trailer, right? It's been the
Yeah.
one spot that we've been waiting for ever since we saw the trailer. It was like her picking up some bodybuilder, By the way, there are no ladies, there are no pediatric oncologists out there that have time to go lifting weights all the damn time. You can freak yourself out of that fantasy right now. I'm sorry, they're on call all the time. They barely get any sleep. They don't have time for all that. Um, so that's the only thing I had a question about is like, is this guy for real? Like, is this guy possibly lying? Because doctors don't usually look like that, unless you're like a sports medicine guy,
And
you know.
what doctor, what person in the world would wake up to Jennifer Walters making them breakfast and say, I'm gonna leave?
Like,
Um,
oh, who are you? Like, come on, man. Like, all right, whatever.
yeah, when she looks like Tatiana Maslany, I don't care if she's 7 foot and green or 4 foot 11, and you know, but she's as cute as can be. I would not be leaving.
Yeah, but some people they've got those weird fetishes, right? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, if you're into big green Rican babes, that's you. And then you wake up and then you see this little short, lawyerly lady. Yeah, maybe I gotta break off. No, I gotta go home. I am not where I am supposed to be, ma'am. You know, I, especially if you got warrants all over that on the place. That's I gotta go back and see more about like if that was in any that if that guy was possibly in any of the She-Hulk runs. Because they always like to put like little Easter eggs in there, especially like the guys she was flipping through. I guarantee you
Yeah,
one of those guys is actually in the MCU or is in one of the comics.
the couple of the lawyers are already running around in the She-Hulk, the current run of She-Hulk, and we'll get that to that in a second. But they introduced Mallory Book in the last episode of She-Hulk, and she's actually in the current She-Hulk run, and
Yes,
that's who Jennifer Walters is working for. So
her. It is kind of funny because she's like, oh, I think it was her friend. She was like, yo, you're arch nemesis, Mallory Wilk. And it was she's like, she's not my arch nemesis,
yeah.
freaking. It's weird, because she's her arch nemesis because she's competent. And now she's in a position where she has to work for her and she gets to, quietly try to fire her. I guess that's the word now that everybody's using. I'm going to quiet fire you, and but this should be interesting, right? So now the same vehicle that are using She-Hulk to get her out in space inside the MCU, they're going to start using that inside the books, right? Hey,
Yeah.
she is now going to be the attorney for Krakoa via Nightcrawler. I don't know why they're up there looking dapper on this freaking cover. Oh yeah, it's
Because it
Cake
was
Wednesday.
it's yeah, eat cake and nice dress Wednesday or something, like whatever they call it.
Uh, eh,
You know.
eh. I now in Iraq we used to have tea Thursdays. That was the thing.
Yeah.
That was me, or chai Thursdays. Um, but that's about it. Um, oh, I'm gonna get dressed up and freaking go eat cakes. Like, look, that if you're gonna eat a cake that tastes good, the last thing you want to do is dress up because you're gonna get crumbs and all over your freaking dress and all over your suit. So
Maybe that's the point.
that she
But
gets
anyway.
grumbles. And then
Yeah.
it was good to see Hellcat. Um, again, like I don't know, like what was the resolution between her and Tony, right? I know
So
he
there is.
proposed, right?
Yeah.
Did they? I
No,
know
there's
she said she
still
was going to
going
think
on.
about it.
Yeah.
I
See,
did.
she's still over in Iron Man, but she's been sitting around, hanging around in She-Hulk for a while. And even in the last run of She-Hulk, Hellcat was kind of like the best friend. So, but let's so we'll give the credit where credit is due here. So let's do a more formal thing here. We have Rainbow Rowell as the writer, Luca Maresca artist, with colors by Rico Renzi, letters by Joe Caramagna. And if you don't like it, you can blame Lindsay Kowick, Nick Lowe, um, and CB Cebulski, because he runs the whole thing. Um, so the official, this is really kind of not like a continuation of any other kind of book. This isn't a continuation of a storyline. These are a lot of kind of just the story continuing and kind of some, the plot lines going on. Big plot line here is, yeah, Nightcrawler shows up to She-Hulk's office and wants to hire her on retainer as a lawyer for Krakoa, which the big thing is, Mallory Book, She-Hulk's boss, told her specifically no superhuman clients, but of course changes her mind as soon as she realizes that Krakoa is going to be a source of lucrative income for them. So she kind of changed her tune pretty quick. Um, the other kind of running gags they have going on here is that Mallory Book is dating Awesome Andy. That's the Mad Thinker's awesome android, and
Ick.
yes, it's very strange. And Andy can't talk, but he communicates through a chalkboard that apparently, um, you know, right. I don't know if he writes on itself or where if he's just writing it like off panel and then
Yeah,
communicating that way.
so let me get this straight. You have an AI that is competent enough and technologically advanced enough to do law stuff and receive clients and stuff, but you couldn't give him a voice. You
It's
couldn't even give
weird.
him like a
Yeah.
you couldn't even like give him a Stephen Hawking freaking like talking thing, like where he like types it out and then it says whatever he thinks and nothing like that.
Well, the Android's been
That's weird.
around for 60 years since the early Fantastic Four Lee Kirby run. So having him here is kind of a funny joke. But I mean, this is something that they did, in the previous runs of She-Hulk. Is the Awesome Android has always been kind of like a comedy bit. But we also get Jack of Hearts, who's been turning up more and more in the Marvel universe as of lately,
Who's
which kind
been
of
dying lately. He died
yeah.
in the Fantastic Four. What was that
Yeah,
run that we
yeah, the
just
Reckoning War. Yeah, he died and came back,
like?
and then
So is he
yeah,
going to show up in the MCU today?
that's I think what we were just kind of I was thinking about, right? Because he was running around in Fantastic Four, running around in She-Hulk, and he was in another book too, which I was like, man, he's really popping up all of a sudden everywhere. So you got to think, right? That's what they do is they're priming us to get used to him. So then when he makes his debut in the MCU, which
Right.
I mean, that could be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's probably the most logical place for him to show up. Um, but yeah, they used him very well. I kind of am liking the blossoming romance between She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts. That was basically the second half of this book. So this is not for the action lovers. If you are looking for She-Hulk to get in a fight, she doesn't get in a fight in this. This is kind of like almost like Millie the Model or something, um, where it's just
Mm.
kind of soap opera drama type stuff, and then sitcom-y,
But
funny
right, but
book.
they ruined it already. They ruined it already. They've already slept together. They
Well,
just it was crazy enough because I had never really thought about it. Like, oh, they were already chummy together. They were already kind of like living somewhat under the same boat because of practical reasons. But never did I feel like, oh, they had to sleep with each other. And I get it now because apparently there was at one point where if he touched her, like it
yeah,
made both of them crazy and everything. So that was perfect, right? Because I've said it over and over again. The thing that manga is killing comics is
no,
right now
is the tension. Yeah,
is the tension and the romance, and it was doing great because I felt like they were star-crossed lovers. I felt it, the way they were talking to each other, they were developing the conversations. But guess what? It's all ruined now for me because now they're doing the oh we're sleeping together thing.
yeah. Well, so I get what you're saying. It's just that that's not really who I've ever thought Jennifer Walters was. Even like her whole history, she's bounced from guy to guy, and it's always been made that she was very promiscuous, even back in the early '80s when she was, you know, she bounced from even in her own book, like her own when she had her own book back in '79. There was
Mhm.
she was doing two different guys at the same time in the not the same time, but in the same issue really.
Right.
I think
But
she had
that was
two
during
relationships going
that was right after the love revolution, right before AIDS, right?
on.
So
Okay,
like
all right, yeah,
promiscuity was
yeah,
like a good thing, man. Now it's like, all right, how about we just stick to one guy and we can, and just pedal it out, man. I don't know.
yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
I'm just old fashioned. Actually, it's not me that's old fashioned. I'm
no,
just saying that they need to get with the times. Miss Rainbow Roel, I think that's what you said her name was.
yeah,
No, get with the times. Figure out, go to Webtoons, figure out how they're displaying romance over there, because those characters are over there are not just sleeping around. She and I will give her credit. She took 6 episodes or 6 issues where she was building up absolutely perfect
yeah.
conversations between the chemistry in between the two was very awkward, and that awkwardness was perfect. And I wanted to see it through. Now they've already, you know, now within one issue, not only have they slept together, now he's got money again. He's got his own place again. He's got all this other stuff, and I'm just like, yeah,
Well,
I no
hey,
longer care.
you know what? Let's. What if issue 7 opens up with, him with the dejected look on the face because it didn't work, or something? So maybe it turns out that they didn't sleep together. That would be good, but you know that the this book, I think, if you're looking for um, not your typical superhero fare, right? She's not getting into fights every issue. This is more of the courtroom drama, sitcom, soap opera ish type storyline. Rainbow Roll previously wrote Runaways, and that was a book that I was a big fan of. We kind of reviewed several issues of Runaways, and Johnny hated me for it, but that was a fun
But yeah,
book with not
right,
a lot of action in it. It was a lot of character drama,
right.
a lot of relationship stuff. So this, I think, is perfect for her to be writing, and I think this book really, and if you can read this and then watch the show and totally get what they're trying to do. So I think that's why the show is working for me and why this book works because it's its own thing. There's nothing else on the stands like it right now. It's a nice change of pace.
Right. And that is weird that you say that because they did try and they brought Millie back, right? They literally brought a comic with Millie. It was like Millie the Model. They brought that back, and there was another one from like the early 50s and 60s with the pig and I forget, not the frog,
Oh,
the
Stinky Pig
raccoon.
and Silly Seal.
Yeah, and I think they're going to bring him back again,
Yeah.
from what I've heard from some of the solicits. So,
They're doing the Infinity Comics on Marvel Unlimited. They're
yeah.
they're they're releasing them digitally. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're getting a steady dose of funny animal comics online right now from Marvel.
Yep. Let's keep it going. All
Yeah.
out Avengers.
Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to keep going? Because it's just, I mean, I have what I want to say about it, but I'm willing to let you talk first.
Well, let me see if I can remember what it was all about. Actually, let me pull out the credits first of all. Um, so I've always, and I'll go into it a little later, but I've always talked about continuity. Like, okay, you had
Yep.
this going on, then you had this other thing going on. So, written by Derek Landy, penciler by Greg Land, who did this okay thing, okay cover art. That's right there. Jay Leaston, inker, colorist Frank Darmata, letterer VC's Court Petit. Greg Land and Frank Darmata did some cover art. Editors Annalise Pisa and Tom Brevoort, and your chief is Saboski. Um, Look, so it's been a while, right, since we've
Yeah.
had an Avengers book.
That had Avengers in it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So at least good on going on there, but got to remember this is not an actual Avengers book. This is the All Out Avengers.
hmm
so that's the weirdness going that they had to have another book to put Avengers. Whatever.
That's This is these. That's why they call it All Out, because they're all out of their own book, and they had to put them in this book.
Yeah. So talking about political drama, look, the drama in this one was T'Challa. Um, he was formerly the leader of the Avengers. Then he had to go away back to Wakanda to take care of some political stuff that was happening in Wakanda. Now he's back.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what happened to Midnighter, right? The guy, is that his name? The dude that's supposed to be the Batman of the Marvel universe.
Oh, the Nighthawk. That's
Yeah, yeah, Nighthawk.
yeah, but that's in the regular Avengers book. This is the All Out Avengers. This
It's
is a different lineup.
like, so wait, you're
Yeah.
referring to something that's happening in the other book. We don't have all the pieces. This is
No,
that's
so
maddening.
this book, this book drops you into the action, and this book is specifically designed to make you feel like you missed a part of the story. I started reading this and I had to flip back because I was like, is this issue two? Did I miss the first issue? What the heck is this? I was like, the first page has got Captain Marvel possessed by some alien being, and she's getting in a fight with Iron Man and Thor. I'm like, what did I come in on? I missed the first issue. And then I'm like, no, wait, this is the first issue. So then I'm like, okay. So then I get into like page 5 or 6 where they introduce Blade in Captain America and Spider Woman, and then Blade starts saying, I don't remember being here. I don't remember how we got here. I don't remember like what's going on. And then I'm like, okay, Blade's us.
Yeah.
We're sitting there, we're reading the book, and we're going, I have no idea what's going on. And I guess they'll explain by the end of the book, but they don't. Yeah, they don't. You get they get in this fight. They introduce all these aliens, this aliens beings with the with portals, and they're coming through the portals. We introduce Spider-Man piloting the Quinjet with Black Panther, and I'm like, where did Spider-Man come from? He's not part of the Avengers anymore. Same thing with Spider-Woman, and I'm like, well, where are these characters coming from? I think it's a crime that they have all these Avengers on the cover and Blade's not there. So, but anyhow, that this whole thing is designed that way for you to be like, what's going on, and they don't explain anything. But if you read the letter from Tom Brevoort at the end of this book, he explains to you what this book is about, and how when Tom Brevoort started collecting comics, he started collecting in mid storyline. So when he picked up a book, he didn't know what was going on, and he always wanted to feel that way again. So that's why this book is dropping you in to what you think is the middle of the storyline, and then what's going to happen is they're going to, as the story unfolds, bring everything together and explain what's going on. So, but not explaining everything in this first issue you got. So I'm sure 90% of the people that picked this book up thought that this was issue 2 by the time they halfway got through it, and had to turn back to the cover to find out it was really actually issue 1. But they swerved me. I thought it was pretty cool at the end after I read it. After I was mad, for being like, this is the second part of the book, but it's not. So I'm willing to give this a couple of more issues to turn around. I think the art's pretty good, except for a couple of glaring spots. I don't imagine you have the interior art, but there's like halfway through, there's a scene where Captain Marvel and Thor are going at it, and there's the middle of the page, and Captain Marvel looks god awful. Her face is just turned the wrong way, and her boobs are as big as her head, and I'm just like, that is a disaster of a panel. The rest of the artwork, not bad. It looks like there were a couple of spots in there that were a rush job, but as far as the writing goes, it's a fight issue the entire time. There's just no let up in the fights. There's comedy where you think that it is because that's what Marvel is now, is everything is a joke, but then they put Spider-Man in there for that. So that's It's fine. The one thing that I'm really gonna shout out about this book, why I enjoyed it, is because there are actual Avengers in this book. Um, that's really why I picked it to review, because I we've reviewed countless issues of their Avengers main book, and my gripe has been that they're supporting characters in their own book, and they don't show up enough. And then when they do show up, maybe that's for a panel or two. Here, there are Avengers on every page. They're all over the book. They're a team. They act together, and that's what makes me happy. So I think that if I think first of all, the only crime I really think is that they had to put out a whole nother Avengers book for you to get an Avengers book with Avengers in it. But other than that, I think the artwork's good. The cover art here is the interior artwork, so um, you know it's good. I like it. What did you think, Lucas?
I'm with the look. The problem is that you've got either you're a continuity book or you're not, and it gets confusing to me because you've
Yeah.
got elements of this book happening in other books. So once I pick up the book and I start seeing, Captain America and this guy getting into it, and then we're talking about the Dark Tide. Dark Tide, that's a submariner. That was a submariner thing that they were fighting through for a while. Then you got Captain Marvel. She's possessed by this thing, another thing. So there's too many elements that are dropped in from other books that I'm just like, hold up, wait, what?
Hmm.
Um, and it's like I don't understand. This is not a script. I can tell you that much. I mean, nobody should pick this up thinking that hey, someday this is going to be in the MCU. No, this should never be in the MCU. This is straight. I don't care what you say, Professor. This is straight garbage. This is. Oh man, this is somebody freaking their college paper was due at 7 o'clock the next morning, and I just woke up at 3 o'clock that morning because I was out partying last night. Oh, let me throw this together and then turn it in, and then this is just straight freaking garbage. There's no way around this stuff, man. For $3.99, they should have made this a dollar book, right? This should be one of those free comics that you got on Free Comic Book Day. And that would have been okay, but not for $3.99, man. Where you just throw all this stuff around and just bring up these, unless of course they at some point actually are thinking about bringing the Dark Tide to the MCU.
Hmm.
Um, because once again, I have seen the Dark Tide quite a few times in the last few years. Um, it was a whole part of that. Once again, the life and death tablet. I don't know if you remember that, the thing that the
Yep.
Kingpin had,
Yep.
right?
We talked about
Um,
that a lot.
and the only thing that could stop the Dark Tide taking over Submariner's kingdom was the tablet of life and death.
Hmm.
So they were on a hunt for it, and then you know what happened? They stopped that storyline and they freaking stopped freaking printing those Submariner books. So we will never know if they actually found that stuff or not.
Hmm.
Then they're like, well, no, she's the daughter of Grandmaster. I'm like, man, God, man, how many daughters does this dude have, man? This is propagating throughout the whole doggone galaxy and universe and overseas, man. So that's just the thing, man. Like, look, the art is weird. It's too confusing if you read. If this is the one book you read, it's fine. But if you're reading all these doggone Marvel books, you're confused like a mug, like I am right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to think, and then I'm going to pick up another book next week, and I'm going to be even more confused. Right. So, I thought Kevin Feige was supposed to be reining in this stuff, man. Make it all like one big thing, man.
Kevin Feige has nothing to do with the comics,
No, he's
right?
supposed to be. No, he's supposed
Is
to be.
he?
He was supposed. Yeah, he's supposed. It was just this year. They were like, okay, he now not only has a thing over the MCU, but he's going to make sure that is step and step with the freaking comics as well. Because that was always a complaint of mine is that hey, we're going into the theater and watching the stuff, but then when I go to my local comic book shop and pick up a freaking comic, that is not what I'm seeing on the freaking thing. Like, hey, we just saw a big old battle in Wakanda, but when I go to the comic book shop, you got Black Panther out in space. That don't make no doggone sense.
Mm,
Like, hey, you got a Moon Girl thing happening right now, or an animation thing that's supposed to be coming out soon. Oh, let me go to my local comic shop, see what it's all about. Oh, well, Moon Girl is out in
mm.
space right now looking for dinosaurs. That don't make any sense. So they need to bring that more in a step with everything. Um, to make sure that the stuff that I'm actually going to spend more money on to find out about my favorite heroes is in lock and step, and it doesn't not awesome crazy range stuff.
So why wouldn't Marvel come out with some MCU comics? Maybe use photo covers too, just so that you know that this is like, have like a She-Hulk book with a She-Hulk with Tatiana Maslany on the cover, and have that book be your MCU book, and then you still have your Marvel Universe over
Right.
on
They
the other
used to.
side.
They
Yeah,
used to,
yeah,
right? They
yeah,
used to
they
do
did.
that, right?
Yeah,
Um, and then people, speculators would grab that up because what you could do is you could take that, and then if that project failed or that person got out of the MCU, you could take that to your local Comic Con and get that actor or maybe one of
yeah,
the side actors to sign that, and then your investment was returned fourfold.
yeah.
But for some reason they stopped that. They used to get a preview, right? Like it was called a zero issue before the thing come out. So it's like a primer, so you can know like, hey, what happened up till then, and what is this character about? They stopped doing that for some
Hmm.
reason. So I don't know. It's up to them.
Well,
It's a shame.
so I will, just for the fans to be clear, the All Out Avengers is not an all gay lineup.
It's not an all gay lineup. Ah, they're all out of the closet. That R. Kelly song.
They're all out. No, this is not the X-Men. This is the Avengers. Um, all right, so let's let's do a 2 minute warning. Sorry, that was a
All
terrible
right.
joke.
It was actually pretty cool. Uh, First thing people need to know is that there will be a shortage that could drive the speculator market for Midnight Suns #1 cover A, the David Nakayama. I don't care about none of those other covers, but those David Nakayama's covers do sell on the secondary market. So the fact that there's a shortage, it's got my spider sense tingling. Also, Venom #10, the book that nobody cares about anymore, that was going to have a shortage. I guess I do need to read it, reread it, and see if does it click for me or whatever. But you just need to know that if you don't see it
Huh.
on your rack, that's why.
Why is there a shortage?
No further explanation. Sometimes it just be like that. Like, okay, um, sometimes they're like, oh well, nobody cares about these books, but we got to push these other books to make sure they're on time, so they prioritize. And then they short them, and they're like, hey, if you guys really need it, make sure you call us up, and then and it's a weird thing that they've been doing, right? Especially
The other thing I'm thinking of is how many copies of these books do they actually print where there could possibly be a shortage? I can only imagine that they have to be only printing like 5 or 10,000 copies of Venom, right? I mean,
right.
how many people are actually buying the book? And then, like, why is there a shortage of something that's got like a 10,000 print run?
Right. So, I think the cost of these are like 3.99. So when usually these are like 3.99, it's because number one, they decided to cheap print it on very cheap paper. Right? And I'm not
Mhm.
just talking about the inside. I'm talking about the covers, right?
Really?
And yeah, and because speculators have been so forthright about saying, "Hey, stop that shit." Stop freaking printing the covers because I get it, and then there's like scuff marks all on it. They're like, okay, we'll print it out and see how it goes, and then it gets over here, and they're like, oh, well, we can't pass this out because speculators are going to be mad again, right? So they
Huh.
say, okay, well, we'll push these particular covers out, so they'll push cover B, C, and D, but they're going to hold back cover A. So cover A might not arrive this week; it might not arrive till next week, or if it um, does arrive, right? So like the bigger ones, like the bigger companies like Midtown, a Mile High, they'll get theirs first, and the
Yeah.
smaller companies will get ours a little bit later, if at all. No.
Hmm.
So and then after all of that, sometimes what'll happen is you'll just get yours and it's just jacked up. And it's like you get what you get, throw a fit. right? Which is what happens more than not, right?
Hmm.
Because especially, and then they'll do that, especially if you get incentives. I think there's like a 1 to 10. No, there's 1 to 25 of this, right? So if it's 1 to 25 and you order two, they'll say, oh, okay, well at least if 10% are of the cover A's are bad, that's not a problem because they most likely bought all these in order to get the cover, the incentive cover anyway. So we'll just send it out and see how it goes, right? And just
Yeah, yeah.
throw up the Jesus Christus sign there and see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Um, let's keep it going. So on FOC this week, we just did a review for All Out Avengers #1.
Hmm.
All Out Avengers #2 is going to be on FOC. So make sure you talk to your LCS. Make sure that you lock down your. If you liked this story, go ahead and lock down your copies. The Peach Momoko with Kate Bishop. That is a great cover. Some of her Peach Momoko's best artwork. Then there's also the one to the far right, which is the NetEase cover. But also that Stegman is not bad at all as well.
Hmm.
Mixed Fantasy #1000 is second print. And oh, by the way, we forgot to talk about this. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Uh, Amazing Fantasy 1000 today at D23, giving out, I believe it's for free. The people who attend a particular panel will be getting copies of these two covers. One of them is Mickey giving a 60th anniversary cake to Spider-Man. The other one is Spider-Man giving a 100th anniversary cake to the Disney characters. Why is that important? Because at the last D23, it was actually the first appearance of Mickey in a Marvel book, and the black and white one went for goes for $10,000.
Wow.
The regular cover one, it goes for $3,000, right? So if you know somebody that's there right now, you call them right now and you tell them save that book. Don't tell them why. Just say, hey man, if you get that book, go ahead and get that book and give it to me. Oh, and by the way, right after the panel, after you get your book, uh, some of the writers are going to be on hand to sign these things. So that's going to push up the second market prices on these even further.
Hmm.
So nobody's selling it so far right now on eBay right just yet. They're probably going to wait till the panel opens, and then we're going to see what's what as far as the prices on these things, man. So yeah, man, freaking there's money to be had in those. So I guarantee you, like anybody that went down there, they get a hotel room and spent the money just to go down to D23. If they get this book, they will get their money back fourfold.
Hmm.
Um, Axie Mutants #3. I don't know what's going on with this book, other than it looks like it's kind of focused on the machine and what her or his role is and how all that works. I think there's something going on with that that they're trying to push. Black Panther #10. This will be the second appearance of the Buffalo Soldier.
Hmm.
I'm kind of wondering what's going on with Shuri and why she has the shield. And
And a
then
Miracle Man cover.
Miracle Man. Yeah.
That's the second time we've seen it the last couple of weeks. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is, man. Like some of these covers for Miracle Man look amazing. Some of them just look eh.
Hmm.
And then Daredevil #4. What I am wondering is what's up with these incentives. So there's a 1/100 anniversary version, and then there's a 1/200 anniversary retro, drawn by J. Scott Campbell, but it doesn't have Daredevil on the cover. It has Luke Cage, like the old Luke Cage.
Well, Luke Cage is got a 50th anniversary coming up too, so that's his 50th anniversary.
Yeah, man, but if I get a J. Scott Campbell 1/200, I don't want him drawing a dude. J. Scott Campbell excels at drawing women, not freaking black men. He didn't even draw his afro right, man. Like, come on, brother. Like, he looks like he's getting ready to go to the disco, not getting ready to get into an inner city fight, man. You know,
Yeah,
look, he just became the mayor. Is that what we wanted to be reminded of? Is that he was a young thug running around the streets?
with
You know?
with the
Yeah, like, come on now.
chains on. Yeah.
Gambit, number 4. Um, there are. I don't know what's going on with this one. I do know is that he has a love interest in this one that is
Mm.
not his wife. So
Yeah.
eh,
I don't know.
eh.
The whole X-Men line has been rather forgettable lately. So I've read the
uh,
first 2 issues. To ask me what's in them, I don't know. I can't remember.
that's the problem. And Marvel did well when they sculled down how many titles they were putting out, especially the X Men titles.
Yeah.
And I could read everything and be like, oh, now I remember what the heck is going on. Now I'm off on Hulk. I'm off on Venom. I barely care about X Men stuff anymore, man. And it was like I'm just sitting in the corner reading my She Hulk, getting pissed off because of the bad romance stuff that's going on, man. You know. Ghost Rider number 7. Kale Nagu is the one to the left. For some reason, there's a Spider Man. Oh yeah, because of the 60th anniversary. Got it.
Yeah.
And then the one is by a friend of Comic Crusaders, Maria Wolf, who
Oh,
has been on fire lately. Um,
literally.
literally, me and Al, we met her during one of the Read Comics Comic Cons, and we put in a couple calls, and she did her thing, and she has been on fire in the speculator market. So if you see any of these and you hear of her going to any Comic Cons, grab it, get her to sign that bad boy, and wrap it up, man, because some of hers are turning into $300 freaking investments, man, over
Wow.
like 399. Um, the I have seen the previews for this one, and there is going to be a new villain in this one called Exhaust. I think that's what they're trying to call him from now on. Who's supposed to be like a twin shadow of Ghost Rider, controlled by Blackheart.
Huh.
And don't sleep on Ghost Rider number 1, 2022, which has the first appearance of Talia Warroad. Namor Submariner, Conquered Shores, number 1. There's a whole bunch of covers for this one. Nothing that I was like, oh man, that's a freaking great cover. There's Torrin Clark, who just makes him look like Aquaman running around, and for some reason, there's a Doc Strange cover. It's like, I guess they got to kind of ramp it up, right? We got
Yeah.
Namor running around Black Panther, so they like got to remind people of like who this dude is. But here's the problem: the dude that I see on these covers does not look like the dude that's supposed to be in the MCU. So
Right. They can't. Well, see, that's the thing. Is yeah. I guess we can talk about that. I mean, if he's supposed to be not in the MCU, he's not even the king of Atlantis, right? He's the king of another fictional
yeah,
underwater city.
yeah, like Huatulco or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's something Mexican or
Yeah.
so yeah,
So
something like that. But yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah. Some Star Wars 28. There's the action figure variant, but I do like the EM gist of Luke looking. He looks halfway. He looks svelte, right? He looks
yeah,
good in that black uniform, but his face looks like he just woke up after doing a night of drugs. I'm sorry, man. He looks bewildered. you
nice.
know, you know. Um, Star Wars High Republic number 1. You gotta pick some of these up because they also like to drop a bunch of new figures or new characters in these.
Yeah,
Star Wars Visions. There will be absolutely some new characters in these. This is going to be the manga version of Star Wars.
that's coming straight from Disney Plus because there was the Visions show that was a bunch of manga shorts on Star Wars, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Venom number 11, the Raposa. And then I forget the name of the one to the right. He looks like the cat that's been running around with him, but now he's
Yeah,
got a body.
kind of, maybe. But he looks kind of like Bane there with with like the Venom. It's like Venom with Venom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Weird. Wolverine number 25 has got 6 new covers. One by Nakayama. The one that I like is the Perillo one. And I forget the name of the dude, but it looks like he's coming back because he was killed during the whole Circle of Swords thing.
That actually looks like a different character. That looks like the one that's been in the Eternals, the Jack of Knives. If you've been
Uh,
reading
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Judgment Day
Mm,
storyline, that's who that looks like. That doesn't look like the other guy that we're thinking of. No, is it Nomo or something? Whatever
right.
that guy was.
Yeah.
That looks like Jack of Knives.
Okay, coming soon this week. Axe Judgment Day #4, like the kitty cat variant, and I don't even like cats that much. The Amazing Spider-Man Marvel vs. Community Dies #9. The reason why I wanted to bring this one up is because at the distributor level for Diamond, this is sold out.
Really
Yeah, and this wasn't even mentioned as of short and allocations and none of that. It's just sold out. So if your store gets them and then they run out, they're not going to be able to reorder any more of these. So
interesting.
Midnight Suns #1. There's the design video game variant. I think that's looks like that's going to be the first appearance of Spider-Man and Midnight Suns armor, as well as the Magic Midnight Suns armor. The one to the right is a 1 in 25.
Hmm.
And then lastly, the thing that I wanted to talk about was X-Men Red, the video game variant by David Nakayama.
Hmm.
And that, sir, was your 11-minute warning.
That's an 11-minute warning. We had a lot of stuff to cover. All right, so that's going to do it for the summer of No Prize, and we will be back for our first fall episode. We'll be knee deep in football season, so I'm sure we'll talk about that too. And until then, enjoy the rest of September and stay safe.
Woo-hoo! Football!